Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a moment. We have some great panelists today doing important work to support children and families and communities across the country, and I'm really excited for you to hear from them. While we're getting started, I'll just share a few notes up front. As you can likely see, the event is being recorded. Also, we have closed captioning that's available for anyone who might want to use that. And while folks are signing in, we'd love to know who's with us today. So we'd love for you to share in the chat your name, your affiliation, and your location. We will, toward the end of this event, also have Q&A, and you will use the Q&A function to submit your questions rather than the chat. But do please continue to enter your names in the chat. Good to see everyone. We have folks from Washington State, I can see, Medford. Welcome. Grateful to see everyone here. Welcome, Justin from Boston, Helen from Washington, coast to coast. As folks are joining, please just feel free to enter your name, org, and location in the chat, and we'll be starting in just a moment. Great, so we will begin. And I'll just start by welcoming everyone. I really appreciate folks being here today to hear from our incredible panelists that we have. I know that June is definitely a busy time for everyone, and I think hopefully we'll have some great content for everyone that will be inspiring. I'm Christine Morin. I'm the National CEO of Cradles to Crayons, and I just joined this organization in February, carrying forward this inspiring mission from our founder, Lynn Margario, who many of you hopefully know. I'm thrilled to be here hosting this panel alongside inspiring nonprofit leaders today. And I won't spend too much time talking about myself, but I'll say that I joined Cradles to Crayons because I've always believed that investing in the success of the next generation is one of the very best things that we can do to make this world better, stronger, and more inclusive. And I believe the kids that we're supporting have great strengths and they deserve our very best. They're our next scientists, judges, teachers, business leaders, and innovators. And I want them to wake up every day feeling proud of who they are and dreaming big about who they want to become. So when we give a child a warm coat, clean clothes, and shoes that fit so that they can show up for school ready to learn, I believe it's more than clothes. We're creating life-changing impact, not only for the kids and families, but also for our communities that will be enriched when all kids have an opportunity to tap into their strengths and thrive. And so that's why I'm really excited to be here with all of you who, like me, believe in giving all children the future that they deserve. For those of you who are new to us, Cradles to Crayons is the largest national organization focused on children's clothing insecurity. We're providing more than 1 million packages of clothing, shoes, winter coats, socks, underwear, backpacks, and school supplies every year. And we provide this to children in Chicagoland, Greater Philadelphia, Massachusetts, New York City, and the San Francisco Bay Area. And we do this really in partnership with 346 service partner organizations like schools, health centers, other nonprofits, government agencies, and more who are working with children and families each day. Our partners place requests with us when they identify children who are facing clothing insecurity. And unfortunately, it's a far too common experience that's impacting 2 and 5 children across the nation each day. And you'll be meeting some of our service partners today. At Cradles to Crayons, we define clothing insecurity as the lack of access to adequate and seasonally appropriate attire. That looks like clothes that don't fit quite right, or wearing a sweatshirt instead of a winter coat when the mornings turn cold. It's the moment when a parent can't reach for a clean diaper because they couldn't afford to buy more. Currently, there are more than 20 million children across the United States who are at risk of or currently experiencing clothing insecurity. And we know that that impacts a child's confidence, their well-being, and their ability to thrive. But I believe we have the power together to change that. And in fact, Stronger Together is a cultural value here at Cradles to Crayons. And that's value is a cornerstone of how our Chairman's Council Clothing Insecurity Impact Award began. And that's why we're very proud to honor organizations who have found innovative ways to make the path forward a little easier for children and families. This award started nearly a decade ago as a way to spotlight organizations with strong impact, working to ensure children have the essential clothing they need to feel safe, warm, ready to learn, and valued. This year, we're excited to be able to award $40,000 in grants to 8 organizations to support and expand their ongoing work. This money will go toward clothing purchases to fill collection gaps or cover unique needs such as school uniforms, footwear, socks, and underwear, and to support facilities, logistics, and operating costs such as supporting the purchases of clothing racks, shelves, and hangers to increase storage and distributions. At Cradles to Crayons, we're very grateful to have leaders past and current who have made this award possible. So please join me in thanking those dedicated leaders whose vision and stewardship has helped Cradles to Crayons lead this effort. And in particular, I wanted to acknowledge and thank Phyllis Yale, our National Board Chair Emeritus, our founder, Lynn Margario, and to all the Chairman's Council members for helping us continue and grow this recognition. Thank you for sending out that love and support. I'm humbled to work in partnership with all of you to expand this community that's committed to ending children's clothing insecurity across the nation. And now, on to the good part. I'm truly honored to introduce our 2025 Chairman's Council Clothing Insecurity Impact Award recipients. So congratulations. You can see their logos here. You'll hear from them in a moment. But congratulations to Room to Grow in Bronx, New York, Health Promotions Council in Philadelphia, Kendall County Food Pantry, north of Chicago, and Four Seasons Kids in Warwick, which is north of New York City. Loved seeing the support for these great organizations because they truly demonstrate how we can collaborate and innovate within our communities to meet children's clothing needs and together end clothing insecurity. So without further ado, we're going to hear from each of them as they introduce themselves. And I'll ask, so we start with Sandra, and if each of our panelists could please share your organization's name and mission, and one way that your work to address clothing insecurity has changed someone's life. And we'll start, please, with Sandra.
Thank you so much, Christine, and such a wonderful welcome and good afternoon to all of you. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Sandra Medeiros, and I serve as the Executive Director of Room to Grow's New York region. And our mission at Room to Grow is to promote equity and opportunity by helping children thrive from the very beginning. And we do that by equipping families with critical resources throughout the child's first 3 years of life. In thinking about your question, Christine, caregivers often say that, knowing that Room to Grow will be able to support and provide them with high quality clothing, seasonally appropriate, often means that they're able to use their limited financial resources to get other basic needs, such as fresh groceries or pay the electrical bill. And so, just knowing that Room to Grow is part of their, extended family, so to speak, is really meaningful meaningful, and it gives them the peace of mind that they can parent and really focus on the things that they need to and not fall short on some critical needs that we're able to provide.
Thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome.
Susan, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan Cosgrove. I'm the Executive Director of Health Promotion Council. HPC's mission is to promote health and prevent chronic diseases, especially among vulnerable populations, through community-based outreach, education, and advocacy. We are based in Philadelphia, and we serve over 30,000 individuals annually, primarily in southeastern Pennsylvania, but our services extend to about half the counties in Pennsylvania and into Delaware as well. We have 5 departments. We do a lot at HPC, but the department that I am truly honored to be highlighting today is our Family Services Department. So this department works most closely with Cradles to Crayons. We have a longstanding partnership, and our family services are tailored to support caregivers through parenting education, case management, and healthcare navigation. We take an approach that empowers families with skills and resources needed to overcome the obstacles that they face. And we use a holistic, family-centered approach, recognizing that clothing insecurity can often reflect deeper challenges that our families are experiencing. That can include unstable housing, food shortages, limited healthcare access, lack of income, and other challenges. We screen for clothing needs early in our engagement with our families, and we work with them to create goals and connect them to essential items. And Christine, as you spoke to, this is not just about meeting their basic need, but really restoring their dignity, reducing stress, allowing them to kind of go through their day-to-day with confidence and dignity. So one specific family that I want to highlight is we have a family that we currently support. It's a mother and a father raising one medically complex child and then their siblings. And while we were helping the medically complex child and meeting their medical needs, we observed that the other children were struggling with clothing insecurity as well as hygiene product shortages. The family found it difficult to afford what they needed for their teenagers, including feminine products and properly sized clothing. And it really was impacting their confidence and school participation. So being able to provide that family with coats, school supplies, and hygiene products really eased their financial strain and ensured that their children could attend school with dignity and confidence. And we've really seen, through our partnership with Cradles to Crayons, how consistent access to clothing and essentials directly improves the family's stability and well-being.
Thank you, Susan. Alex.
And it's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to thank everyone for inviting me and allowing me to be here. We are located in Yorkville, Illinois, and we service Kendall County, LaSalle, and DeKalb. That's our geographic area. So on average, we are serving between 450 to 500 families per week at our Thursday distribution. So we are serving food as well as providing clothing through our clothing closet. And so that equates to about 1,500 people per week multiplied by 52 weeks in the year. So we're extending ourselves farther and farther each year. And, one word that I've heard each of the panelists say, and I have it written down here is the word dignity, right? Truly, because I think of everything through the minds of I have 2 daughters, a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old. And I always think of my mind through the eyes of a father and a husband and wanting to protect them. And I think about what Cradles to Crayons does in our partnership with them. And it does provide that level of dignity and that reduction of burden that comes along when you're a parent and you're trying to make the decision about where am I going to spend my money? Because it's finite. It's I only have so much. And when they leave here and they can leave here with quality products, new coats, new pants, new blouses, new shorts, that relieves, you can see it relieving some of the tension on the parents. And sometimes it's just with a look to say thank you as they walk out the door. And what happens to us during the course of the week a lot is people will literally just walk off the street into our building. Even though our distribution day is Thursday, a lot of times families will come in and just say, I don't have anything for my child, and they're going to school tomorrow, or they have summer camp. Can you help me? And the answer is always yes. And so we'll take them in and we show them everything that we have available, and they leave our building, we leave our pantry better, more ready to step into the day and not feel embarrassed or not feel burdened. So that's what we're trying to do here.
Thank you. And Audra.
Hello, my name is Audra Schlesinger, and I am the founder and executive director of Four Seasons Kids. Four Seasons Kids is a dedicated outreach program committed to supporting children in Warwick, New York, and the surrounding towns who face clothing insecurity. Our mission is to provide these children with properly fitting, seasonally appropriate clothing, both new and nearly new, 4 times annually. By doing so, we aim not only to meet their basic needs, but also to enhance their self-esteem and confidence. Four Seasons Kids clothing distributions coincide with the beginning of each season: December, March, June, and September. Each distribution includes a comprehensive package consisting of 5 coordinated outfits, a new package of socks, a new package of underwear, a new pair of pajamas, and a seasonally appropriate special item. Since our inception 3.5 years ago, we've made a significant impact by clothing 204 unique children from 108 families. We have successfully completed 15 distributions, providing about 18,000 articles of clothing, valued at nearly $300,000. So currently, we're supporting a very remarkable family of 3 children who are being lovingly cared for by their grandfather. As they approach their 3rd year in the program, it's clear that without this vital assistance, the grandfather might have struggled to continue to provide for them. Living on a fixed income, he selflessly took on the responsibility of raising his grandchildren after they were left without appropriate parental care. The grandfather has worked tirelessly to keep the siblings together and provide them with a stable home environment. One of the children requires homeschooling due to a physical disability, which the grandfather has taken on in addition to helping his daughter with her own health issues. So with the support of Four Seasons Kids, it's been instrumental in helping this family navigate these difficult circumstances. By providing essential clothing, the program has helped alleviate some of the financial burden, allowing the grandfather to focus on giving his grandchildren the love and care they need. Over the past 2.5 years, our program has helped them save over $6,000 in clothing expenses. So that's a little bit about us.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra and Susan, Alex, and Audra. I think we'll go deeper in some of the questions, but just I'm struck by some of the words that I heard from everyone. I heard things: peace of mind, empowering families, dignity, reduction of burden, self-esteem. What important and wonderful things to be focused on right now to support families. So thank you all for what you're doing, and we'll go deeper and we'll have time for Q&A, but that was really struck by the strength of what everyone here is doing. And so I'll pose a question to Susan and Sandra, because something that I think we all share in terms of our values is just really honoring the strength of the families, the caregivers, and the kids that we are supporting. And I know that's on everyone's mind. So can you just, to Susan and then Sandra, can you just share with us, what would you like for us to know about the strengths of the families that you support?
Thanks, Christine. I think this is such a great question, and it aligns so well with the assets-based approach that we really try to take with our families. I think a lot of us use the word empowerment, and I think to do that, you need to really be looking at it through that lens. And so a few strengths that I would highlight include just the resilience and dedication of the families that we work with. Many of them are facing immediate, overwhelming challenges. This could be housing instability, limited income, food insecurity, or health concerns, and they still retain that commitment to creating a better future for their children. Even in the face of that adversity, they're not just reacting to crisis, they're invested in that long-term growth, and they commit to the work that it takes to get there. They show up for parenting sessions, health navigation appointments, school meetings, and they do that not because it's easy, but because they believe in what's possible for their children. And on that note, I think self-advocacy is one as well. So our families know their children best. And even when they don't have access to the systems or tools that they need, they do know what their children need to thrive. And so we help them navigate and amplify their voices so that they feel like they can advocate for themselves. And then the final one that I just want to highlight is that many of our services take place in the home, like through home visiting. And just the level of trust and vulnerability that it takes to invite someone into your home and into your family and into your life. Alex spoke to sort of viewing this through his lens as a parent, and I do the same. And I think about what it would take to be that vulnerable, to invite someone, a stranger essentially at the start of the engagement, into my home. And our clients are very honest with us. They share their fears, their frustrations, their hopes, and we never, ever, ever take that for granted.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, I think, Susan, everything you share just, I echo so deeply and very much see as well. When I think about the strengths of our parents, I'll say, our parents are navigating many of the same transitions and decisions that all parents do. But they're compounded by systemic inequities that make, like Susan was saying, access to safe, secure housing very difficult, access to paid parental leave, affordable childcare, and they're living in under-resourced communities. And yet, despite these barriers, they're fully engaged in shaping their child's future. They show up to our program with deep, deep commitment, deep, deep purpose and love, and are actively participating in the program over the course of 3 years. Our families are also not just recipients of our services, they are partners. It's their voice, it's their lived experience, it's their choice that really shapes what the program experience is like for the family. And it's unique, to each family because not all successes and challenges and goals are the same. And I think one of the real strengths of our program, in addition to it being asset-based and strengths-based, is that it's individualized and really personalized to each, family that's participating. And then I think last, what I'll share is that our families know that a bright future is possible for their child and for their families. There is no doubt of that. And they're doing everything that they can to ensure that their kiddos have the care, have the resources, have the knowledge and skills, to achieve their dreams, whatever they may be.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate sharing this perspective. And I think it's, as I said before, a value we share, just thinking about what stories are we telling about the incredible families and kids and communities that we're working with. So thank you so much for painting that picture for all of us. Really important. And so now I'd love to just turn to Alex and Audra and ask you if you can just share a little bit more about what clothing need looks like in your community. And you talked a little bit about this, but just, how you're working to meet this need.
Yeah, would you like me to go first?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
Alex.
Yeah, so I mean, for us, it looks like different things, right? For instance, we work very closely with the Department of Health with people who are experiencing homelessness, and a lot of times, it's genuinely they are able to carry what they can in their backpack, and so we allow the health department to come into the facility with those individuals that are experiencing homelessness. It's on off days, so there's anonymity, so people, don't feel a certain way about coming in surrounded by others, right? We just make sure there's a level of privacy there. And then we are able to help them with new clothing as much as they are capable of one needing and or carrying with them. We're able to help them with hygiene products, toothpaste, toothbrushes, deodorant, things like that. And also, like I mentioned my daughters earlier, but like I think of it through the lens of smaller children. One of the things that we always try to do is, because this community is small enough, where we will bring additional clothing to elementary schools, in particular the younger classrooms, like kindergarten, nursery school, first grade. Sometimes kids have accidents, and sometimes parents don't have the means to send them with additional clothing in a just in case scenario. So we make sure those schools have those clothes on hand to make sure that kid doesn't feel poorly about themselves, right? That we can support them in that moment where they need it. In terms of families also, like there are so many families that walk through our door during our clothing distributions, and typically it's the entirety of the family, because maybe they don't have the additional funding for childcare. Maybe they have to be together, so they can make sure that their children are getting the correct sizes and things like that. So for us, it shows up in a bunch of different ways. But what we've tried to determine as an organization is meet them where the need is. If that means us having to deliver clothing to school, if that means opening on a random day because we receive a phone call from somebody in need, whatever it looks like, we try to be flexible in a way that it's going to help those individuals.
Thank you. That's great. And Audra.
Yes. So the community that Four Seasons Kids serves, which is Warwick, New York, and the surrounding towns, is wonderfully diverse. While Warwick is often recognized as an affluent area with a high median income, it's also home to a significant migrant farm worker population, thanks to the region's renowned black dirt farming industry. So this unique blend of backgrounds and needs makes our program a natural fit. We're fortunate enough to have the generosity of local families who donate clothing and funds, while also addressing the real needs of the children in our area. This combination of support and necessity has truly shaped the heart of our mission. So our program currently serves 150 children in 3 distinct groups. The primary group consists of school-age children who are eligible for the free and reduced lunch program and have opted into our initiative. This group also includes their younger siblings who are not yet in school. Our program is inclusive with no requirements based on ethnicity, gender, denomination, and we offer clothing in sizes from newborn to 12. Children participate in the program for 1 year and receive 4 distributions, and then must reapply annually through the federal free and reduced lunch program for the new school year. The second group we support consists of infants and toddlers from 2 local ABCD childcare centers. So ABCD, or Agribusiness Child Development, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing high-quality, comprehensive, bilingual childcare services to families of farm workers. So we make monthly donations of gently worn children's clothing ranging from newborn to 4T to these 2 centers. And then lastly, we provide support in emergency situations. So we're acknowledged by our local first responder community as a vital resource in extraordinary circumstances where there's an urgent need for children's clothing. So the town of Warwick is a population of about 32,000 people, 6,800 of whom are children. 3.5%, or close to 240 of those children, fall below the poverty line, and 13%, or 900 of those children, qualify for that free and reduced lunch program through the school system. So as you can see, by currently serving about 150 children, there's still an unmet need in our community. So we do estimate that the number of children in our program will increase over the next 5 years. So as the program grows in popularity, more people are hearing about us since we are kind of new, more eligible families are signing up. And then we're also a popular destination for families leaving New York City. So post-pandemic, when people were moving out of the city and wanting to escape the congestion and they can work from home, a lot of people move to our area, and that's continuing to happen. And then since we are also this rural community situated in this very abundant farming area, that migrant population is also continuing to grow. And most of those migrant children would qualify for our program. So we do see it continuing to grow over the years.
Yeah, thanks, Audra, and thanks, Alex. What I'm hearing from both of you is just really a deep understanding of what your community needs and being responsive and nimble to that. And I think that's a really important theme. And I absolutely hear you, Audra, on that point about the unmet need and that growing. I think that's something that we're all feeling right now. And Alex, your point about just going where support in the moment and being able to meet the need, I think is really compelling. Thank you. And so another question, just sort of panning out a bit for Susan and Alex, can you just talk about some of the broader challenges you see for the families that you work with?
Sure. So I think that you have heard this from every panelist already today, is that clothing insecurity does not exist in isolation. And the families that we are serving, they are experiencing other intersecting needs, such as unstable housing, food insecurity, unmet healthcare needs. And for us, clothing insecurity is rarely sort of the primary need that brings the family into our program, or the reason that they were connected to our services. But we recognize the huge impact that it has on quality of life and a family's day-to-day activities. Again, we've had many parents share with us that they've kept their children home from school or even skipped medical appointments due to a lack of proper clothing. And so what we see is that sort of those material challenges lead to another really significant challenge for our families, which is just the emotional and mental toll that prolonged stress takes on parents and children. Many of the caregivers that we work with are balancing multiple responsibilities. They're caring for children, they're working, they're managing health issues, they're navigating these complex systems, and they're doing all of this while dealing with financial insecurity and perhaps with limited social support. So being in that constant state of survival mode can lead to burnout, anxiety, feelings of isolation, and access to mental health services is often limited or inaccessible due to cost, stigma, or the lack of culturally responsive providers. So when families don't have space to process the load that they're carrying, it becomes harder for them to stay engaged with services or focus on that long-term planning or that long-term vision that they have for their children and for their family. So this is really why we do what we do, why we prioritize building trusting relationships, creating that safety, creating that space so that, the caregivers that we work with can just take a deep breath or pause for a moment, feel heard, feel validated, and empowered to take steps forward at their own pace.
Great. Trusted relationships and being able to take a breath. Something we all need, but certainly for the families that we're supporting. Thank you so much, Susan. And Alex.
Yeah, so I think kind of to piggyback on what Susan was saying, but just in a different way. Like for us, it is the trickle down effect that food insecurity presents, right? And they're interchangeable to a certain extent because I believe they're all connected in certain ways. Like for us, if you are food insecure, well, there is a chance that you are struggling financially in other aspects of your life. And so one of the things that we do try to do here is create a one-stop shop mentality where we're offering, food on a weekly basis, but we're also offering the clothing closet that comes with, the Cradles to Crayons clothing and the toothpaste and the hygiene products. We offer there's a doctor on site that if you call ahead, you can make an appointment. And the doctor will come in by schedule only, and she has her own doctor's office in the facility. We rent out an office in the back of our building to an organization called Mutual Ground, which works with people who are survivors of domestic abuse. And this all comes to the idea of like, what can we possibly do to make people that are already going through the grind make their lives as easy as possible and provide that support where they don't have to go to 5 different areas. Because as you know, if you go to the grocery store and then you have to go to if you were seeing a therapist, you have to drive there. If you need clothing, you have to drive there. If you need to see the doctor, you need to drive there. Well, somebody who's already struggling either financially or food insecurity, those are it's additional burden. It's an additional cost. It's an additional stress. It's additional anxiety. So the idea of the one-stop shop mentality is what we're trying to help mitigate that trickle-down effect of all of those things happening to a family or an individual.
Thanks, Alex. And it also, that idea of trying to make that as simple and accessible as possible ties back also to the point Susan was making around navigating so many complex systems. And so I think I really appreciate both of you for lifting that up. And I'd love to just hear from Audra and Sandra. You talked a little bit about how you meet clothing need, but can you just tell us, what are you most proud of when you think about your clothing distributions and why?
So I think I'm going to start. So Four Seasons Kids includes a network of over 100 generous families who donate gently used clothing throughout the year. We accept any amount of clothing any season from newborn to size 12, 7 days a week in our space. We then utilize 50 plus volunteers to sort, organize the donated clothes, launder and iron them in their homes, put together outfits, and prepare distribution bags. Then the clothing that we don't distribute used, including underwear, socks, pajamas, as well as clothing in high need sizes for which we usually don't receive a sufficient amount of donated. We purchase those with monies that we raise through fundraising and in-kind donation events. And these are held in partnership with a variety of local community organizations, such as Boys and Girl Scout troops, schools, churches, hospitals, and other community groups. As far as what we're proud of, I'd say there's 2 things that we're probably most proud of. First is the fact that we tailor each bag of clothing specifically to each child. So we do this through an upfront survey that a family fills out when they're first admitted into the program. And this survey asks them questions about what's their child's clothing preferences. So including style, type, colors, favorites, colors. Additionally, we follow up with the families before each subsequent distribution to determine their child's current size and if they have any special requests for that specific season. So this allows us to provide clothing that the children will enjoy wearing and feel confident in and help to boost their self-confidence. And then the second thing I would say is that we're really proud of being recognized within the community as that emergency resource in special circumstances. So knowing that you can help a family have one less thing to worry about during a tragic situation is incredibly rewarding. So some of the examples of situations where we've helped clothe children include house fires where the children's clothing has been destroyed, a newborn infant abandoned at an elderly fixed income relative's house, a family where the mother tragically passed away in the home and the children didn't want to go back in to get their clothes, and a family of Ukrainian refugees that were adopted by a member of our community. So in all these situations, Four Seasons Kids was able to put together bags of clothing appropriate to the child's size and the season and get them to those in need almost immediately.
That's remarkable. Thank you, Audra. Great. Sandra, we'd love to hear from you. What are you most proud of?
Yeah, I think similar to what my peers have also shared, we see clothing insecurity and material hardship as a symptom of broader issues. And we know that when we're providing kind of the clothing support, we're doing so in a holistic relationship-based model that meets families where they are, walks alongside them for 3 years, and that affirms their dignity every step of the way. And so the nearly 700 families that we're working with at Room to Grow New York from the broader New York City area visit our families every 3 months, starting in the third trimester of the birthing parent's pregnancy, first very intentionally to ensure that they feel like they have all the support that they need for the arrival of their little one, not just with all of the baby goods that we provide, including a car seat, of course, those onesies, the swaddlers, but that they feel like, they have a plan at the hospital or clinic where they're going to develop or deliver their child. Once the baby is here, they're visiting us at their third month. And the first hour of the visit, they're 2-hour visits, the families are meeting with their dedicated clinician. They're talking about what's going well. We're celebrating the wins. That's a very important component of our program. And oftentimes it really is just like, you're doing this right. Like this thing that that you think you're not doing right, that's exactly what you should be doing. And just really kind of affirming, all that's already happening. And then, working through challenges, starting to prepare what's ahead for the child's development in the next 3 months. We're setting goals together with the family, and then we're working on action plans that the family wants to take on until their next visit. Then in the second hour of the visit, families are working alongside another program team member, and I'm really excited and proud to say that in New York, those program team members are graduates of the program. And so they are working with the families to shop our baby boutique. And so they're selecting their clothing, they're selecting books, equipment, feeding essentials, etc. And they are shopping. So our baby boutique is very much set up like a store, a really high-end store, and that's very intentional. I often say that our family center in many ways is like another character in a movie. Like every logo is intentional. The photos are actual photos of our families. And it's really designed to create a really loving, beautiful space that children and families enjoy coming to. Our inventory is very carefully curated to be age appropriate, seasonal, everything from onesies to winter coats to shoes and pajamas. That's why we love having Cradles to Crayons as a partner. My team is so excited every time we see the bright yellow bags come in. We're like, Cradles to Crayons, yes, toddler clothing, here we go. And we know that goes straight to the boutique. Like we don't even need to quality check it. And we love it. We approach clothing, as I said before, as part of a broader vision of family support. And it's not just about the item itself. It's about reducing stress, as we've all been sharing. It's about affirming, caregivers' ability to meet their child's needs. I think what myself and my team, we often say, like, we're really proud that families leave their visit feeling supported. Like you can see it in their face. Like they know that someone truly sees them and is in their corner championing them as caregivers.
Mm.
There's so much more I can say, but I'll
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's great. That's great. And when you said you walk alongside them, I love that way of thinking about it. And also the idea of, you're affirming when you're doing something right, because often it feels like you're not, and you need someone to tell you that was actually you're doing it. So thank you. That's really great. And happy to hear that when you get the deliveries, it's helpful.
So helpful. So
Great.
helpful.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm sure as folks are listening to every one of our amazing panelists, you, like I am feeling, are just so inspired by the work that everyone's doing. And again, just how centered on communities and families, and really just sort of lifting up and acknowledging the strengths, and helping be that sort of support, so that our families can thrive. And so I'd love to just ask each of our panelists, what's the number one thing we can do as we're listening and wanting to support your work? What's the number one thing we can do to support each of you? And we'll start with Sandra.
Does it have to be just one?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, certainly as a nonprofit organization, as we all are, financial contributions are so important to continue to power our program and allows us to sustain this work. Similar to Audra, all of our in-kind items or our inventory is donated from the community, generously donated, both from individuals who have items that are gently, loved and can come our way, as well as through corporate partners. And so those two things are one of the key ways that really, support Room to Grow's work and allows us to, partner with our communities. I think similar to what we've, been sharing already, we need partners who understand that addressing clothing insecurity is more than about just filling bags. It's showing up for members of our community and doing so in partnership and with dignity. I think, Christine, you mentioned this in our first question, just really uplifting the stories of family strengths as well as community resilience, and advocating for policy changes that help to ensure caregivers have all of the essentials that they need, and that these essentials aren't nice to have. They're non-negotiable rights. Like every family deserves access to these resources. Our families that we support already have the strength. They already have the love. They have the commitment to their families. What they need is for all of us as a society, to keep showing up for kids
Mm,
and for families.
I love that, and I totally agree. They already have the strength, they have the love. So that's not what we're giving. Yeah, I love that. That's great. Thank you. Susan.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that Sandra highlighted, and maybe to build upon that, I would say sort of consistent and long-term engagement is really, really valuable right now, especially as we are sort of in this uncertain and chaotic time for nonprofits and social service organizations. So if you're already supporting through donations or through financial contributions, I think like making that a recurring contribution is really helpful, so that we know that we'll have that support longer term. It could just mean regularly interacting with and boosting social media posts, sharing our work with your friends or family or colleagues or other folks who would find it meaningful and also want to support. We don't take volunteers, but many organizations take volunteers if you're willing to give your time. And then, of course, donations of goods or purchases from wish lists is really helpful. I want to pick up on the advocacy thread that Sandra mentioned as well. We are in a really critical moment right now for advocacy and education about the needs of vulnerable families. So I'd really encourage you to, again, find the issues that you care about and call a legislator. Figure out who your legislators are federally, at the state level, send them an email, pick up the phone, sort of inform yourself about what is happening and make your voice heard about what's important to you and the impacts that you will see in your community with pending legislation.
Thanks, Susan. Alex.
Yeah, so I know this sounds like a broad statement, but I mean every word of it. Continue to keep your doors open. Like keep your doors open. Keep doing what you're doing, because this relationship, this partnership with Cradles to Crayons, or Crayons to Cradles is a game changer for us. We are incredibly reliant on donated clothes, and any donations we receive are beautiful. But what we receive from your organization is clean and new and fresh and vetted, and it's amazing. It has been able to, it's allowed us to offer more and offer quality. And it's so what I would ask is just keep doing the great work that you're doing, because that will allow us to continue the partnership and continue to branch out with other organizations.
Thanks, Alex. And I think just I'm struck as I'm listening to everyone right now that from every corner and every place that we're working, we're sort of coming together to provide that web of support. And I think obviously that's needed now more than ever. So thank you. And Audra.
So actually, I'm going to mimic what Sandra had to say. I really had a hard time coming up with one, but I guess because I am based on everybody else on this panel, I'm much smaller and much newer than the rest of you. So I really just tried to think about what is like our number one biggest challenge, and I figured that's the one I'm going to go with. Um, so basically, our primary challenge is that with each distribution, there's a shortage of gently worn children's clothing in specifically larger sizes. So sizes 7, 8, 10, and 12. I have no idea why we don't get as many donated in those sizes, but we don't. And we have a ton of children in those sizes signed up for the program. So in order to fully meet the needs of the children we serve, we're always running short. So as a result, we find ourselves regularly needing to purchase new clothing in those sizes to fulfill our mission of providing each child with 5 complete outfits. So then compounding this with the challenge of the purchasing of underwear, socks, and pajamas, which we do not give away used, it puts a financial and a logistical, more of a, like a logistical strain on our organization. So while we currently source most of our new items from like local retailers such as Target and Walmart and Children's Place, even those stores sometimes lack the sufficient inventory in those larger sizes. When you have to buy a lot of one size, you try and go into the store and they're just not there. So this shortage frequently leaves us scrambling like to find enough clothing as the distribution date approaches. So if Cradles to Crayons could help us like with reliable sources to purchase high quality children's clothing in bulk, particularly in the sizes that we always need, it would make a significant difference. I've found some places to try and partner with other organizations, but it's like they send you a box of all different sizes, and I get infant and toddler stuff, which I don't need, and don't get enough of the larger sizes. So, really having a ready stockpile of like essential basic items would streamline our distribution process and help alleviate the stress and the last minute rush we currently experience when we are short on clothing and the distribution is in a week. So I don't know if that's something that you could do, but if
Great. No, it's great. Thank you. I think it's real that there are just specific gaps and areas of need, and that's what we want to hear about. That's what we want to talk about, because we all want to make sure that we're able to deliver on our mission. And I think that's how we can sort of work together to try to problem solve in some of those areas. So thank you all. And we do have a couple questions that have come in from the Q&A. You can keep them coming through, but I will start with a question from Asher. And Asher, we'll just put this out there to whoever would like to jump in on this from the panel. Asher would love to know more about what has surprised you about addressing clothing insecurity in your community. Who would like to jump in on that one?
I guess I think Alex is talking, but his.
Go for it. We'll go Audra, then to Alex.
I guess, like I said, being kind of a new organization, I when I put this all together and I went to do my first distribution, and it was literally like a couple of hours away. And one of the things I never really thought about was, oh my gosh, how am I going to interact with these families when they come, because they come in person to pick up their bags of clothing. And in hearing all the other panelists talking about, kind of that relationship you formed with these families, and like I said, it was a couple hours before the distribution, and I said, okay, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my lead from them. And each of the families has been different. Some just want to give you their name and walk out the door and not interact, which is completely fine. Others, I have formed a more of a close bond and relationship where they do talk to me about maybe other issues that they're having. And, I'm not, like I said, big like you guys are and have those services within my organization, but I am in the community and I do know now, having done this for a couple of years, do have ways that I can point them in the right direction or give them other, resources or places to go. So I guess it's kind of surprised me a little bit about how each family is a little bit different, but just, being open to serving them in however they need. And if that's to be kind of anonymous and a little bit just come and go, or somebody who wants to engage more and utilize maybe other help that you might be able to provide to them.
And Audra, I think the technical term is small but mighty.
I'll use that from now on.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Great. Alex, were you also going to jump in on that one?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think one of the things that surprised me the most, and this is an individual thing, is just like how naive I was to the level of food insecurity as well as clothing insecurity. For my past 16 years, I was working with men and women right out of Department of Corrections in Chicago and who were in recovery from substance abuse. And so for the past 14 months, I've now stepped into this realm. While there are some connections there, some natural connections between all of those things, I wasn't quite prepared to see the level of need. And in very short order, I realized that we need to do more, and that is partnerships with organizations like yourselves. But it can't stop there. It's got to be communal. It's got to be organizational. It's got to be intentional, and it's about messaging and getting the word out there. Because I think a lot of people are probably like me; they don't understand the true need, but now I do.
Great. Thank you, Alex. And Audra, we have a question for you coming in. It says, Norita, thanks you for sharing the stories of families in emergency situations, and asks, what advice would you give to anyone on the call who would like to start to help in their communities in those types of situations?
Well, actually, initially how this came about was working with the SROs in the schools. So the student resource, what is it? Student resource officers?
Resource officers, yeah.
Yes. So I got to know them in kind of like the elementary school levels. And because they are police, actually one of them approached me and said, "Hey, I would love to be able to go talk to my police chief about you. Would you be?" And I said, "Absolutely." Because she had come to me, I think, about a house fire that she had heard about, and I was like, "I would love to be able to do this, not just when you hear about something, but when somebody else hears about something or it's in a different school system that you're not the SRO in." So I would suggest maybe starting at that, or just even, setting a meeting with the fire chief and the police chief in your town. Um, I mean, they love it because it's something that they can then extend to the community as a help and resource instead of just, trying to call friends and family and saying, "Hey, can somebody go to the Walmart and buy this family clothes?" I've already got it there. And if there's multiple children in multiple sizes, so I think just, literally like calling or emailing your fire chief and your police chief, or going through the SROs through the school systems, and then they can go, up the chain to their bosses or the police chief or the fire chief.
Mm. Yeah, that's so great to think about that there are other folks out there that are seeing the need and they're just not sure how to solve it. And we are working on addressing the need and sometimes need to be able to locate it so we can
Yes.
work together. So
Yes.
that's
Linking them up. Yes.
a great example. I don't think we have any more questions in the Q&A. So I just wanted to just share with all of you, just first of all, thank you for everything that you are doing. I feel just really inspired to be with all of you in this space. I'm thinking about how the need is so much greater than what we're able to do today. But I think if we can continue to learn from each other and support each other and sort of build awareness and mobilize people around the impact, the really incredible positive impact with children and families when we can work together to address this need. I just have a lot of hope for what we can all do together and just continue to expand sort of the circle of awareness and care and action around this issue. But I know that it's not easy. It is not easy work. So I just want to thank you all for, as you all have sort of indicated, showing up and standing alongside families and staying committed, keeping doors open in days and times where it's hard, right? It's really hard. So thank you all very much. I just want to congratulate you all, and also congratulate congratulate all of our 2025 recipients. It's really been special to be in this conversation, to be able to celebrate your work. And then I also wanted to lift up the work from our honorable mention for the Chairman's Council Clothing Insecurity Impact Award. That is the Medford Family Network in Medford, Massachusetts, Youth Guidance in Chicago, Illinois, the Sharing Shelf in Port Chester, New York, Kid Vantage in Issaquah, Washington. I think we have some folks from these orgs on the call today, so let's just send some love out to these amazing organizations who are doing so much to meet clothing needs in their communities. And to our partners in the audience and all of those of you who are working to meet children's clothing needs elsewhere across the country, we hope that you'll consider applying to this award next year. So keep an eye out for announcements regarding next year's cycle and application in the fall. And with that, I just want to say again how grateful I am to all of you for the work that you're doing and for everyone who's on this call. Hopefully we can do more together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.